Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Hold the Ball, HTB. Hope you guys are well today on the Saturday morning, depending on where you're watching. Hey, you could be watching maybe on a Tuesday, maybe even a Wednesday, maybe a Friday. But I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves and all as well. Look, before I start this, I just want you guys to know, if you're new, if you're sort of coming in and out, give me a subscribe, give me a follow. I like to talk all things rugby league, NRL related, as well as the, North American sort of rugby league scene as well. And I'm definitely a big fan of that. But guys, please, again, like, share, subscribe, and tell me what you guys think. Without further ado, let's get into it. This is around Peter V'landys and his rules, right? It's been a hot topic, as we all know. Blowout scores, 50 plus. No grit, no determination anymore, just attacking footy, is what people say. And I guess I'll be looking at sort of that, backing up with stats, and I'll be looking at the other side as well. There are those who say, well, I don't mind it. And you've even got some casual fans too who are actually pretty keen on this high scoring game. So you've got to see these 2 points. Understanding that there's a lot of people who are actually against this, and obviously at the same time, it's actually very meaty on the against side. So we're going to be looking at that. And for the for side, I'll be giving you guys more discussion topics to talk about as well. But without further ado, let's get into it. Rugby league, NRL. Why do you like watching it? I like watching it because of the physics. I love watching the whole big man, small man sort of thing. I love watching the pace, the high drama, the heartbreaks. I love watching it because, at the same time, you get to watch your team hopefully win and go for that gold. Why do you watch it? This is basically going to be, again, just a quick summation, stats, conversation, as well as sort of like trying to make you guys think, what do you reckon? But without further ado, we'll get into the first point. And just a side note as well, this is also going to be touching on concussion. And I guess that sort of relates to everything that's going on right now. Point 1, I've titled, PVL, is he magical? The reason why I say that, well, in round 10, we all know what happened. If you're living on the rock, you probably missed it. Peter V'landys basically said, all right, players, if you touch the head, that's it. You're reported, you're gone for 10. All of those things happened in round 10. And a lot of us were probably left bemused, wondering what on earth is going on. There was a lot of probably confusion, probably a lot of unanswered questions. But PVL basically just said, well, players, you should basically adjust to it. Obviously, as we know, fast forward a few weeks later, he has basically apologized because he knows it was wrong. Because, hey, guess what? A lot of players actually didn't and weren't told. In his discussion with Gus Gould recently, he had an infamous sort of a quote. If someone runs at me, I want to tackle low. Well, PVL, if you tackle low, that's what happens. That's why you get the 50-odd plus hammerings. Now, I'm not using this as a platform to bash him. If anything, just to highlight what he said. There's no right, there's no wrong. Well, at the end of the day, the NRL is still here. And that's just what it is. But look, before I start as well, I just want to have a point to make. And that is credit to NRL, Fanalytics, OzTAM, as well as Footy Industry AU, who are the people who provided me with these stats to actually talk about. I do not own any of these stats. I just talk about them. And at the same time as well, I'll be showing the stats on the screen. So please beware. Feel free to pause the video if you need to as I explain what's being said. But yeah, look, there's a lot of things to sort of bite into. So let's get into it. The point 2, the stats I have is going to be the 2012 to 2021 season. So like talking about the margins, right? So we've got the categories as 19 plus, 13 to 18, 7 to 12, as well as 0 to 6. And I'm also going to give you guys a snapshot look at 2021 with their rounds. This is something I've done from round 1 to round 16 to this very game, which is the West Tigers against the Rabbitohs, in which the Rabbitohs are losing 22 points to 38 with 4 minutes to go. Quite literally to the very last game. Again, look at the screen if you are lost. From 2012 right to 2020, the numerical stats show that the 19 plus category from 2012 on was 27.4, 30.8, 33.8, 28.9, 26.9, 23.4, 23.9, 28.9, and 28.4. Again, that sort of shows you that in regards to the NRL as a whole, for the 19 plus category, it was actually well balanced. It wasn't too far out, especially when you consider what was below it, right? From the 13 to 18. And again, if you're looking at the stats like I am, you can already see that from the 13 to 18, if you're going to be rounding off from 2012 to 2020, you can already see again that they were still well balanced. Sure, there were some places were higher or lower, but generally speaking, from 13 to 18, it was still well balanced, at least around. As we can see from 2012 to 2020 again, from the 7 to 12 bracket, we've got again sort of up and down, but again, nothing too far off. Shows you again that from those years, the game of rugby league was well balanced. So you had an equal share of the highs and an equal share of the mids as well as the lows. And then from the 0 to 6, from 2012 again to 2020, it sort of shows again, it was the same thing. There was equal footing. So for example, if you look at 2015, there was 32.8% of games that were actually between 6 or less. And there was a 28.9% of games that were actually 19 plus or more. And again, just shows you, it was actually quite even, and actually shows you again, there was actually more games that were 6 points or less. If we look at, say, for example, 2019, you've got for 6 or less, there was 34.8. And for the 19 plus, there was 28.9, which again shows you that there was a lot of good close games. And I guess no matter how good or bad, there was somewhat sort of an even sort of week to week contest, if that makes sense. But that sort of shows you or indicate or gives you sort of like an indicator. You can even look at 2017. We've got 33.3% for games that were won by 6 or less. And we've got 23.4% for games that were 19 plus. Again, showing you that it was actually more games were actually more heavily contested than they were not. There was a total of 201 games. From 2020, obviously due to COVID, there was 169. And then from 2021, that's a total of 117. However, next page over, I've got the stats to basically go up to the very game that is being played now. And as I speak, the West Tigers have lost 22 points to 38 to the Rabbitohs in a game that is, well, 12 plus, isn't it? So, but then 2021 rears its ugly head. Peter Vandy decides by late 2020 that he wants things to be faster and look good and all that stuff. So he decides, hey, well, viewers want to see more, corporates want to see more, they want to see faster leagues, so here I go. And he made a few changes. 19 plus, 45.3%. 13 to 18, 17.1. 7 to 12, 15.4. And 6 games or less, and 6 points or less, 22.2. Quite alarming when you actually look at the 14.3 bracket, isn't it? But I've just done something else for you guys, just to give you guys a clearer picture. Call me a stats geek. Call me a person who really cares about showing you guys what is going on. I've actually decided to add the 13 plus, right? And I've also added the 12 below, if that makes sense, right? So we're going to be looking this time at the 13 plus from the years gone by, and then we'll be looking at the 12 below the years gone by. So for 2012, 13 plus was 48.8. And 13 onwards was 48.2, 48.2, 45.8, 43.8, 42.8, 40.8, 42.8, and then 47.3 for 2020. And again, just to clarify, I got the means for them as well. So the means for these scores that were 13 plus from 2012 to 2020 was 45.5, which again shows you not too bad at all, which actually indicates that overall, it wasn't as bad as we all thought. There was actually some very obviously high-scoring games during those times, but it didn't happen often. And if it did, it was probably one team who was just going through a bit of a rough patch and one team is going through a bit of a hot streak, and that's usually what happened. Now, you don't even need to go for a hot streak, but I'll get into that. And I've also done the other side as well, obviously from 12 below, right? So we've got from 2012 to 2020, we have 50.8, 51.7, 51.7, 54.2, 36.2, 57.2, 56.2, 57.2, and 52.7. And again, I just hope that this is clear for you guys. Again, I'll probably explain what I'm talking about too on the about. But yeah, what I did as well for this from 2012 to 2020 in regards to the 12 and below scores, I did the mean as well. And it was actually 54.2. So again, 54.2% of all those games were actually 12 points or less. So again, shows you there was a lot of closer games, and there was actually not too much of the very one-sided. Sure, they were there, but again, the low scoring the low scoring outweighs the high scoring. 2021, I've actually done a split between the two. So for the 13 plus category, is 62.4%. For the 12 and below category is 37.4%. Now, if you actually tie that up to the means, right? So for example, 62.4%, and if you do the mean for the 13 and plus overall, that's 45.3%. That is quite astonishing, isn't it? So it just shows you the game alone, this year alone, in terms of percentage, has already wrecked everything that's happened from 2012 to 2020. The 13 plus games are rife, and it's basically the motto of the NRL this year. And if we look at the other side of the coin, from the 12 below, 37.6. And if I look at that compared to the means from 2012 to 20, which is 54.2, again, shows you very little is happening here, which sort of, again, is an indicator. Now, tell me what you guys think about that. I hope I explained it to you well. If not, please comment below. Let's have a yarn about it. Now, what I've also done as well is I've had a look at the NRL rounds. So from round 1 to round 16. So with the rounds, I just want to make it clear that I'm going to be looking at 13 plus, as well as 0 points and 50 plus. So when I say, for example, 4 games, that means 4 games that were 13 plus, right? And then I'll add the, 50 plus or 0 points, just to make things clear. So for round 1, there was 4 games. In round 2, there were 3 games and 1 0-pointer. In round 3, there were 4 games and 1 0-pointer. In round 4, there were 7 games and 1 0-pointer. In round 5, there were 5 games and 1 50-pointer. In round 6, there were 3 games and 1 0-pointer. In round 7, there was 5 games. In round 8, there was 4. In round 9, there were 4 games as well as 2 0-pointers. In round 10, there were 6 games. In round 11, there were 5 games plus 1 50-pointer. In round 12, there were 6 games. In round 13, there were 3 games, but it was a bye too. So 3 of those 4 games were 13 plus. Round 4, there were 6 games. Round 15, there were 5 games, 1 0-point plus 2 50-point games. And in the round just gone, there were 5 games that included 3 0-pointers plus 1 50-point. And obviously that's talking about Manly, who absolutely destroyed the Bulldogs. So do with that as you will, but basically that means that 124 games have been played thus far. 75 of those games have been 13 plus, 50 plus or 0-point games, which means only 49 of the games have been 12 points or less. Now, if I've explained that correctly, which I hope I have, it's quite alarming. So again, 124 games played, 75 games are 13 points plus, 50 points plus or 0 points scored. Only 49 of the 124 games have been 12 points or less. Work that one out. That was actually the hardest part to get over, that one there. I really hope the editing skills work this time, because that was really hard. But thanks guys for keeping up with me. I appreciate it. So now I've gone to point 3. Talk the game up. Remember that? Remember how the media at times were it was sort of like a media versus fans? So like the media were, I guess to a degree, pummeling the game, saying it was too slow, too much wrestle. And the fans were saying, hey, it's fine, look at it. Right? Let's go back a few years ago. Now look at it. What's happened now? Do we still talk the game up? I mean, now it seems like the media are sort of like talking the lies up or talking the rubbish up. Sort of brings me to say, is PVL a dictator? But you guys think there. Point 4, NRL in 2021. Bunker versus player versus fans happens all the time, every week. Your team, my team. We're never going to be satisfied. That's the reality. Bunkers are always going to make calls or make excuses. The media are too, as we saw with the Broncos game. With the Broncos game, when Kato sort of juggles it, and then, the bunker sort of adjudicates it, and then the bunker changes everything. They say, well, he sort of had a wobble, but I don't think there was. You be the judge. People said it was clearly forward. The only reason why the bunker intervened was because they said it was juggled. What do you think really happened there? PVL again wants the fast game. We're seeing fast games. We're seeing tries being scored like no other. Is it good for those who view the game and like fast league? Absolutely it is. We're not going to say otherwise. This is the reality. It's great to see. We love seeing fast running. We love seeing teams who can't adapt get absolutely destroyed, I think. And obviously there are a lot of fans too for this talking point who are not happy. You could be watching and you're probably not happy. And that's fine. Tell me why. Obviously, again, just shows you that fans from social media to even media, they're just not happy. No one's happy. Nobody likes seeing these blowouts. It's just not normal anymore. You know, like I touched on before, you get teams who are not even on hot streaks who just one day decide 1 week, I'm just going to beat you by 50 plus points or 45 plus points, you know, to 0, or it's crazy. Or beat teams comfortably. Raiders, for example, getting absolutely pummeled. Bulldogs, for example, just getting absolutely pummeled, or even the Cowboys. And another thing as well, I guess, is these two other points too I want to bring up with this discussion. For point 4, the historic records being broken that we're seeing. Why are the media so hyped up about it? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? We're seeing sort of records that haven't been touched since the early 1900s, and they're breaking and we're all cheering, but then it sort of shows you is the game gone backwards. Again, I'll let you decide. And the last sort of thing too is the media cover up, man. Looking at this rubbish here. Now the media basically saying that 1 try is better than no tries, especially if your team is getting belted 50 or 40 plus points. Is this the way we want to watch? Is this how we want to watch rugby league? Again, I'm probably exaggerating the numbers there, but even if you go 20 plus points or even 30 plus point beltings, is this how you want to watch your rugby league? And again, I'm asking you as somebody who's just genuinely interested. Where do you stand on this? Point 5, the other half. And this is the part where I'm talking about the people who are actually for this. And I've got some points here. Well, first things first, you can look at the wrestle. The wrestle. Melbourne Storm, very famous at doing it. Other teams adapted and made for a slower game because of ruck infringements and just slower play the balls. And I don't know, I mean, reflecting on it, probably wasn't the best time for league. I think that's probably why the sudden changes were brought in, because of the wrestle initially. You know, and sort of brings me to say, you know, perhaps the slower pace is probably something we don't want to do or go to. Another thing as well I want to touch on is the casuals. Those who are probably not into the league but love the fast pace. To them, would it look attractive? And I think it does, because obviously as league fans, especially those who are just regular viewers like you and I, perhaps you're watching this as casual, welcome to our world. But for those who watch this continuously, to us, we love the nitty gritty, we love the tight sort of games, but to the average Joe who hasn't watched it, he loves watching Jason Saab run 100 meters a game. Edokar, Latrell Mitchell, Travojevic, Ponga. He loves watching those players run. And in fact, to be fair, on the highlights, that's what attracts the fans. Now again, hear me out. I'm not trying to say I'm against this or for it. These are just sort of things that I'm laying out for you guys to think about. Is NRL trying to attract the casual? Are they? If they are, I think they're doing a good job. And if you actually think about it, this ties up to my next point. The viewerships, they're actually increasing. Foxtel KO, there are actually more fans watching NRL than ever before. Now we sit here and complain, but there are actually more viewers who are watching the game. Again, very tightrope to walk on, but have a think about that. We sit here, we complain as fans, and we have every right to. I'm not saying I enjoy watching the beltings myself. But then if we look at the stats on the visuals, like on the viewing, it's actually more people watching the game. Now, more fans, more eyes. Those are like the points that are, you know, for. You know what I mean? So, yeah, is it a tough pill to swallow? I don't know. Where do you stand on this? And just quickly, I didn't touch on the rules, PVR's rules. So PVR's rules were 2-point field goals from 40 meters out. Why would you do that when you're getting belted 30 points to 0 and it's not even the 20th minute? I don't know. 6 again for 10-meter line infringements. Penalty scrum, breaking early. Play the ball restarts in touch. Incorrect play the ball equals a handover. Captain's challenge retained if inconclusive. The last two was injured player who was injured in the field for more than 2 minutes needs to go, out for 2 minutes. And then last one is a try is still able to be checked out by the bunker, again, which kills all the hype, but there you go. That is the rules there that were introduced, going back to what I was saying before. Yeah, so this is the summation of it. I'm going to conclude right now, but again, I hope you guys are thinking about it. Tell me what you guys think. But the conclusion, basically, sort of the NRL's future. Now, I've given you guys the stats for their 2021. What sort of happens from there? Are we going to be seeing, is this going to be a norm from 2021 onwards? Say, for example, the next 10, 20 years. Say for example, the next 5, 10 years. Are we going to be seeing 60% games that are going to be won by 13 plus? Dare I even say it? How about 70, 80? You know, where virtually only one game is going to be 12 or below. Will the NRL adapt? Will the players adapt? We've already got players who are going to be taught how to adapt their tackling, even though, again, you can't mitigate what happens. Obviously, it's a physical contact sport, so you're going to get players who are going to slip here and there and hit the head there and here and whatever. But are they going to be sort of adapting slowly? Are there going to be teams who will just be taught to play a fast game? Is this going to be more endurance based? Because I tell you what, the way this game's being played, you're going to see an evolutionary stage, I think, you know, in terms of the games from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, so on and so forth. Are we going to be seeing the game sort of change? You know what I mean? Are we going to get more slimmer, faster players? Who knows? And another one as well I want to touch on is the growing pains. What do you think? It's just the growing pains. It's just sort of like the initial shock, you know? Sort of like how you hurt yourself and right there and then you sort of are just bombarded by feelings. Is this it? Will we slowly embrace this, or will PVL do something, or are we going to be forced to embrace it? Don't know. But yeah, I guess it sort of brings me to ask as well, is PVL a hero or is he a villain? What do you guys think? You can say he's a hero for saving the game, in which he did. You can say he isn't for the deals he made. You can say he is for the concussion. You can say he isn't for the margins that are now being put on display. Where do you sit? Where does he sit? Again, the main focal point is PVL. Let's not forget that. What has he done for the game? What will he do for the game? Will the game be better off or will it not be? Anyway, give me guys your thoughts. This has been my ramble. Man, I hope I actually have come across to you guys, ladies and gentlemen, in a good and thorough way. I'm so sorry if things did not make sense. This is my first in-depth analytical sort of video. There'll be more of this coming, but I thought I'll try and give it a try and see what happens. But look, tell me what you guys think. Do you agree with some of the things I've said or not agree with some of the things I said? Again, this is not about what I think as much as it is just about what's being said and throwing some sort of discussion points up in the air. If you were to ask me, am I a fan of this? I'll probably say no, but I don't mind the attacking part of the game. Now, if teams were adapted, but at the same time, you can probably say, well, if you don't mind the attacking part, there's always nines, but again, there's no nines that are played much anyway. But look, this has been my discussion on rugby league in regards to the rule changes, in regards to everything that's happening. But yeah, probably my deepest video. But again, guys, please tell me what you guys think. Thanks again for watching. You've made it this far. You're a champion. Premiership points to you. But take it easy, guys. Thanks again for watching, and there'll be more videos coming out as well. This week's gonna be a big week. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Take it easy. And if you made it this far, guess what? You know how to hold the ball. See you guys next time.